Oh, I should have done the little countdown thing. Sorry, I didn't do the countdown.
Here we are.
Hi, we're here. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the March Book of the Month discussion for The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna. I'm always like confused sometimes because like we're talking about it in April, so then I have like the April book, and I'm like, wait, do I have the right month? Do I have the right book? Am I saying everything? It's this book. But we are part of the Diversity is Lit book club. We're all kind of matching with our aesthetic, which is awesome. We try to do that for the books. But if you're new here, my name is Holly Davis. I'm the host of the book club. And every month we read a book by a BIPOC author and then we discuss it. And these are my lovely co-hosts whose social media is linked down below. And I will let them introduce themselves and then we'll get into our discussion. Alicia, you want to go first?
Sure, I would love to. So I'm writer Alicia Grumley on Instagram. That's where you can follow me. I write young adult. I write poetry, which happy National Poetry Month to anybody that is also a poet. That is my camp project, is one of my new poetry collections. And I do some nonfiction self-care advocacy. So those are kind of my wheelhouses. And I love getting to be a part of this group. I'm so excited to get to talk with everybody tonight, but I am going to only be here for a little bit because I haven't finished yet. And I don't want the ladies to not be able to have as great of a discussion with you all. And do the spoiler-free version like they did with These Violent Life, which I super appreciated. And all of the audience, I really appreciated you guys like not giving me any spoilers to that as well. But I'm just going to be here for a little bit to talk about this tonight, and then I will watch the replay later. So, yeah, Theresa, you wanna introduce
Go
yourself?
next? Oh, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Theresa Beasley. I write under the pen name T.A. Beasley, and I write young A contemporary fiction, and I'm currently working on adult thrillers. And I'm happy to be here to discuss the book.
Yay!
Yay! We are too. Hi, I'm Heather Venkat, known as Write Venkat or Write Heather Venkat. I do write middle grade and YA fantasy and contemporary novels. And I'm happy to be here.
And I'm Vanessa. I am on YouTube as Vanessa Marie. You can follow me on Instagram as author Vanessa Marie. And I write YA fantasy, paranormal, and horror. And I'm excited to get to talking.
I recently subscribed to Vanessa's newsletter where she has a ton of freebies, and I have it up. I haven't read any yet, but Vanessa has a ton of like short stories and like flash fiction, and I'm like, I get to read something by Vanessa. I gotta check this out.
It is so good. You have to read them. I did.
A lot of the stuff she puts out is very valuable, you guys.
Oh, it's very good.
Definitely want to get a chance to do that.
So if you guys are new to the discussion, we will go into spoiler territory, but that will be after Alicia leaves. So if you're okay with talking about kind of more general things, favorite characters, things like that, you can stick around. Then when we get into spoiler territory, we'll give the alert. Alicia will hop off. And then when you finish the book, then you can come back and watch the rest.
Yeah, and I'll give comments and stuff at that point.
Like that. You can stick around. Then when we get into spoiler territory, we'll give the alert. If you're talking.
Oh.
Like, that's so weird.
That's always like my like fear is like, oh no, I'm gonna like people are gonna hear what is going on in my on my side of things. So I'm gonna let whoever wants to start go first. What are your general overall thoughts on the book? Did you love it? What would you rate it? Kind of your overall opinion.
I'll jump in because I.
Oh, you're freezing, Alicia.
You're freezing.
Come back, Alicia.
Come back.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Of course, that would happen, right? So I am in a different location than normal, so excuse anything like that happens. I'm with my family for the holiday weekend. So anyway, I am really enjoying her writing style. I'm really enjoying some of the allegorical, metaphorical kind of comparisons that I'm feeling like, especially the way that she talks about how women are viewed in the world and like how like for lack of a better term, like the patriarchy, right? Which is not like the patriarchy of this world, but like because we're living in a totally different fantasy realm, right? That the way that the patriarchy is still kind of shaping things for Decca and the rest of the characters. So I'm enjoying it so far. And this is one that I voted for, so I'm glad that I'm enjoying it.
So it's nice, yeah.
But what about you guys?
I can go. So I really enjoyed it. I thought her writing style was very easy to follow. And obviously the world building is very, very thick and rich. So I do like that aspect. Overall, I feel like there are a lot of times when it's really hard to read it, and it's like, I have to stop right now. This is really like heavy stuff, which, you know, I think the whole book gave me like dystopia, like dystopian vibes. Even though it's not really labeled as a dystopian, I'm like, it feels like it because like this world it's just like I just want to scream at them like, stop doing this to the girls. And like, you know, it's just like the way that they are treated is just it is a bit difficult to read. I did enjoy it. I gave it a 4 out of 5. There were a few things, like I would say after the halfway point, that kind of like pulled me out of it just a little bit and knocked it down the 1 star. But overall, I really enjoyed it, and I am glad that it was chosen. I did not vote for it, but I mean, because I was trying. If I voted for it, I would vote for every book. So I was trying to just pick one, but I'm really glad that I read it. So yeah, those are my overall thoughts without spoiling anything, and then I can.
I agree with Heather. I had to put it down because I got so frustrated with the way the ladies were being treated. So at one point I was ready to, I think I did hit the page. I was like, so I had to close it. I had to walk away. Then I had to breathe. And then I had to come back. But the world building, I learn a lot when I'm reading books like this because of the world building. Because I'm not that great with the whole world building when it comes to fantasy and dystopian type things. Mm-hmm. But the way she describes, it's like you can kind of visualize it. But I mean, the world building is kind of, and the themes are kind of heavy in the book. So if you're looking for something that's going to bring out emotions in you, this is the book to do it. It is the book to do it.
Yeah, and that might be something to do with why I haven't finished it too. Is like you guys put that into words really nicely. That like that feeling of like kind of heaviness is a lot sometimes. Yeah,
yes. And I did
real.
And like Heather, I gave it a 4-star too.
Oh, good.
Because when I got to the halfway part, it did kind of slow a little bit for me. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I did really enjoy the book.
What do you think, Vanessa?
So I liked I'm thinking of how to put this because I don't want to go into spoilers, but I like a lot of what she did here with the characters and their bond, their sisterhood bond. That was one thing that I really liked. And then also some of the conversations she included here about like, you know, what's expected of them from society, and how like there's a conversation in here, specifically a scene that I'll get into later on in the spoilers, but I really liked how that went, and just looking at how society expects certain things out of each of us. That conflict at times. So yeah, this was a lot to take in. It is a heavy book. There's a lot in it. But I feel like it's a good book to spark a lot of really interesting conversations. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I also agree with loving the strong world building. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. So on Goodreads, I rated it a 5. But I really liked like the mysteries surrounding like Decca's powers, and just like the mysteries of the Alaki. Like, are they demons? Are they goddesses? Like, what is going on? Like, who are they? And so I felt like the unraveling of the mysteries of that was really drew me in and kept me reading, because I'm like, what is going on? But like through all that, it's like the message that Namina gave of like strength, and like Vanessa was saying, the sisterhood, like that kind of like found family, because Decca's dad clearly did not care for her, and the guy that she kind of like, you know, threw her, you know, just like she was trash. So for her to have, you know, the family in the Alaki and Keita, and so I just felt like it was like it had an impact because of the relationships. So, and then also like I just had so much empathy right away for Decca, and was so invested in the story after seeing what like Ionis and her father did to her, but then also like Decca being killed like 9 times and experiencing that death. And it's like, that it was just like, how can you not like want to know if she's going to be okay and root for her? So I really liked that.
Yeah, and I think the way that that Namina handles those 9 deaths is very poignant into the overarching like way, once again, that society can view women, right? Because these men who are supposed to be in power, who are supposed to be like holy and pious men, are draining her blood to make money. And like that parallel just did not feel lost to me. Like I was like, ooh, like that hits a little close to like, and it's not necessarily like the actual blood, right? That it's like women are of value as long as they can be of value. They're not of value because of who they are, right? And, or like at least that's the viewpoint that I think this book is kind of exploring through everything. So
yeah, at first I called the infinite wisdoms the infinite dumbs. Like you're making women like,
Nice. So I'm trying to think about which question next won't go into spoiler territory.
Characters.
I was gonna say, or like quotes. I could give a quote.
Yeah.
Maybe. Or like favorite character. Might be okay.
I think quotes. I have a
yeah, let's do quotes.
Yeah.
Want to do quotes?
Let's see.
I have like, I pulled one quote at the end that might be spoilery, but the other ones are earlier on.
Okay. Maybe I'll just like maybe we go through the quotes and then I'm like, out. And then you can go through your last one, Holly, or something. There's so many good ones. I have so many that I've marked already.
Who's going first?
This is a funny one that I'm just throwing out there because I don't think I always pull one that's just like a really random one that's either funny or I'm like obsessed with like the prose of it. But this one was one where I just like laughed out loud and it made me love Britta because it was when they first started to run and when they were doing their training and they had to run. It's on page like 135. And Britta's like, I think I'm going to die me first, almost death from this. And I just laughed so hard.
I'm like, oh yes, that explains my life about running too. Like,
I was just like, yes, there's so much truth to this.
so funny.
So there was kind of some humor in the morbidness of their.
Right.
One of the ones that I really like I wrote like a longer note about this is on like 217 and 218. Let me see. Oh, okay. So it starts kind of at the top. The crowd has begun to murmur now, many people nodding in agreement. And this is going to be like a little bit of a language, right? Like, so, you know, like a little bit of a language warning. He's right, the man calls out. Demon, demons, another shouts. Whores. This last declaration comes from one of the few women in the crowd. An old grandmother in grotesquely smiling bright yellow sun figure mask, accompanied by two young boys, her male guardians, no doubt. And I just like picked up on that quote because that term, right, that whore, always used to insult women. But it is especially effective here, in my opinion, because these women are supposed to be striving for purity and they're already called impure. So like to take that level of, and I think that's what brings like the deep world building into really nice juxtaposition with the modern day views on things that Amina presents us with, because that specific term is used very intentionally, right? It's one of those terms, I don't know about you ladies, but like, I just, like it, I kind of seize up. It makes me mad. I hear somebody call, like, because it's something that is so ingrained as one of those like top 5 insults that women can call, right? And I just felt like it's especially poignant here. And then to go from like that to a, you know, maybe 30-ish, 40-ish pages later, where they like, she makes this like same juxtaposition of where she's like, we're now the Death Strikers, welcome Death Strikers, and they're cheering and they're throwing flowers, and like it just like really illustrated nicely for me how people's opinions kind of flip
back and forth.
Like that, you know, and like, but it just felt very, very effective for her to have an outsider, especially like a grandmother, you know, because it feels different coming from a woman when that, I feel like personally, and even someone of an older generation, even though like the girls are kind of like that, like immortal, you know, kind of like almost immortal lifespan, like you're supposed to be, you want the respect of your elders, right? And like, so they were always considered impure anyway from the second they ran gold. And then to have somebody else highlighting that for them, because it showcases not just like the opinions of the crowd and of like what the crowd knows these girls are doing, even though they need to, right? But it also shows that like there's still some things that can kind of rub the Alaki the wrong way, right? Like I thought it was a very well done quote scene.
It was powerful. And then they're like, oh, well, which one of you are going to fight the Death Strikers?
Right.
Or the Death Streaks. And then they're like, oh,
like, don't get mad at the job that we have to do if you're not willing to do it.
Do it yourself. Yeah.
So that was one that really stood out to me. I mean, I have several, but that was one that I really, really stood out to me. But you guys got any others? Do we freeze again?
No, we
Sure.
freeze.
Yeah, I'll say one because it's it has a lot of relevance to when I read it, I was like, this is anyone can say this. Page 278, the physical body, it heals, but the memories are forever. Even when you forget, they remain inside, taunting you, resurfacing when you least expect. And that really hit me because I'm like, yep, totally.
Yep. I have that whole section, 277 to 279, where Bella Calise starts sharing about her scars. And even like further there, like don't you dare forget these scars. I want somebody to remember them because like if we forget our scars, then we forget the lessons that we've learned, right? And I think you guys all know, like that's one of the things that like I'm big on personally. And it is actually, scars is one of my words of my year. I write words of the year on my hand every year. And it was a big birthday for me this year. I'm 30 now. And I chose 3 words. So my words were hope, scars, and magic. And hope, because we all need a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Scars, because scars tell our stories. And then magic, because I'm a little bit of that too. So
I love that.
I can be whatever I want to be, right? So, but that scar scene was really, really poignant. Yeah, Heather, I like that you pointed that out, like that scene, because I have that whole like last little bit because you're starting to see more of Bella Calise there, and it
was powerful.
Very.
There's a quote. I don't remember what page, but I have it pulled up on Goodreads. But there's a quote that says, "No matter my origins, there is worth in what I am."
Yeah.
That might be later because that doesn't sound familiar to me yet, but that's a good, yeah.
It might be later. I love it because it's the point where I think Decca finally realized, because like the whole beginning, she's so worried about being impure and her blood being gold, which means she's a monster, she's impure, she's no good, and all this stuff. And I feel like it diminished her sense of worth and value in herself, because she's like, well, now I can't get married and have a family and be a part of the community. And so when she gets to the point where she realized, it doesn't matter what it's like, I'm still worthy, I'm still valuable, and that, I love that.
Yes, beautiful.
For sure. I think that's probably set up really well by like some of the conversations she has with White Hands earlier in the story. Or if I can't, like, it doesn't sound super familiar, but it sounds like she was kind of starting to echo those things over, like kind of in her peripheral mindset over here of like it doesn't matter if I'm a demon. Like, okay, so what? Like, she kind of starting to work towards that. So I think that's another like nice like character arc that we get to see. We get to see kind of that full development of her mindset, which is nice.
Yeah, and this quote is a little bit later on, but it's not, I would say it's not super spoilery, but it was another one that I felt like kind of resonated with the current in the real world, in that like just how people can band together, who've kind of gone through kind of similar traumas. So this one is all of them so different and yet all fighting a world where they were unwanted, less than, despised. Freedom for them, freedom for us all. And I really liked that one.
That's the one that I have marked but I didn't want to say it because I thought it was going to be too spoilery. I didn't want to ruin it for Alicia.
No, thank you. That I'm very interested to see the context of that because I can imagine, like I said, I'm like 100 pages left, so I can imagine some of those knots that are going to get tied together with that line. But that's a good one.
Did you have any other ones, Theresa?
That was like one of my favorite ones. I forgot to write them down.
It's okay.
Oh, no.
I should have wrote them down.
No problem.
I'm gonna see if I can find it.
Okay.
As we continue on.
Yeah.
I liked this one because it was the start of it was like the first time someone said this line that is kind of throughout the rest of the book. On page 143, the Karmoko tuts, but her eyes are as cold as icicles. First lesson, neophytes. Alaki, do not yield. You conquer or you die. For an Alaki, for any warrior, death should be a familiar friend, an old partner you greet before you step onto the battlefield. Do not fear it. Do not shy from it. Embrace it. Tame it to your will. That is why we always say, we who are dead salute you, to our commanders before we ride off into battle.
Mm-hmm. I have that same passage marked, and I just said, my note is the way death is presented here is so interesting to me. Mm-hmm. I really like that. In anthropology, some of the things that anthropological studies look at, right, is the culture is defined on a couple of different culture or a couple of different levels, but how a culture treats their dead is one of the levels that kind of gives identity to a culture, if that makes sense. So it's just really interesting to me that it's not something to be feared. We're all going to do it, and that implication that there are things not only worth fighting for, but worth dying for, and worth dying, maybe multiple times for the Alaki, because they're going to die almost deaths, however long they're going to die, right? So, yeah, that I just really thought that we who are dead salute you, because we're all dying right now. We hope it's a long off death, but
right.
It's that weird interconnected conundrum of every breath you take is closer to being your last one. We're all a little bit dead.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't have life without death, and you can't have death without life. You have to have both parts of it. So I really like that passage as well, Holly.
I found it.
Ooh,
ladies. In my book, it's on page 166, and it's Britta makes a comment to Dika, and I guess she was thinking about what Britta has said, and she says, my gift is valuable, which means other people will do awful things to get their hands on it, on me. Mm-hmm. So she kind of knew that there was something going on with her, but she didn't know quite sure. But if I guess the Jatu found out, she knew that they would probably either kill her or try to get her to her final death because of what. And I like the way that the author is she kind of hints to who she is, but it's a progressive thing as you're going through the story until the final reveal of actually what she is and what her powers and things are. So I kind of like that she keeps hinting, but you're reading okay, what is she? And then she has these different transformations each time they go up against the death streaks. So,
and one of the things Namina does really well, I feel is she, and for all of us as writers, we kind of know that this is part of Save the Cat structure, right? You have a beat and then you have the reaction beat, right? So it's always kind of back and forth,
yeah,
or mirror beats, right? You should have like a climbing beat and then like a falling beat on the other side that like is its mirror, right?
Mm-hmm.
And on 292, she's talking to White Hands. Decca's talking to White Hands, and it's like kind of almost at the end of that page in that like second to last paragraph, and it's the Jatu, my cousin the Emperor, and his courtiers, they'll all love you now when they are death streaks to when there are death streaks to conquer. The moment that changes, they'll remember that you're a woman, that you're unnatural. That is how they are. That is how such men are. And it's they're gonna like, and like earlier on that same page, it's never forget that same gift they praise you for now, they will kill you for
later.
Yes, I remember that.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So that
exactly
that mirror is really just she's really got a good like kind of like full understanding of the cycle of her story, it seems like to me.
Yeah.
And I think as an audience you can pick up on that.
Yeah.
Well, is this maybe a good point for me to pop out, because it sounds like we're starting to get towards some more like spoilery things. Yeah. Like I heard it and we're getting close there, so this might be a good point. I loved. I mean, there weren't, other than like Ionis and like her father, like there weren't any characters that I was like, oh, I hate this character. You know, like I felt like pretty solid. I love Britta. I love that. I mean, I think part of her accent sounds a little Irish to me, and I like that. And like, so maybe it's never implied that, right? Because there's the different regions, but just the way she talks, and I think that's fun. So I don't have anything else particular to add at this point, but maybe I will in the comments when I watch the replay later.
Thanks.
All right, bye.
Oh. Hi, Future Alicia. Okay, so sorry if I'm getting darker. It's getting darker out, and my natural light is going away. Okay. Okay, so when she's like, oh, besides her dad and Ionis, there's not really anyone I didn't like. I'm like, oh, well, you just wait.
She hasn't got to that part yet.
Like, just the Emperor.
There's Captain.
Like, especially in the climax when he's like slamming Decca into the wall over and over again. And like, just, oh gosh, and the general, like, you just wanted to kill them. Like, just, they were just as bad, if not worse than the dad, you know?
Yep.
So, definitely least favorite characters. Favorite, definitely Decca for her like strength and resilience. But I also like Keita was like unexpected for like, he was an unexpected like cinnamon roll because I didn't know like what to think about him, because I was just like throughout the whole time I'm like, dude, are you just gonna turn on her? I don't know. I don't know if I can trust you. But he turned out to be good, you know, and he was a tough fighter, but he stuck by her as her what's the word? His
is it Uruni?
Yeah, Uruni. And so he was, you know, even though he was like royalty and everything, and he still stuck by her. So like he was another one that was like a favorite of mine just because he like didn't betray her like I was thinking he might.
I liked her shapeshifter. What was he? What's his name? Ixa.
Yes.
Oh, he was so fun. And he was protective. Oh, he was such a fun. I liked his character. And I also liked White Hands. I liked her for her mysterious ways. It's like she wouldn't fully tell her everything, but I kind of had a feeling as I was reading that she had something to do with like the bigger picture. So I did like her mysterious, but I love the shapeshifter.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if I trusted White Hands in the beginning, because I was like, the way she was mysterious and she wouldn't tell Decca certain things, I'm like, I don't know if I trust you. I'm like,
Same. I was scared. I was like, I don't know. Yeah. Like, that's why I was like, anyone could betray anyone. It was, yeah, it was scary.
But it totally took me by surprise that she ended up being like the goddess mother, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The reveals in this story was really, really awesome.
Yeah.
And she did it at just the right moment in the story. But the reveals, I mean, it was a lot of them, but they were done very well. I believe she did a very good job with those.
Yeah. I was like, I had mixed feelings about White Hands because of the same thing. Like, I was like, okay, she helped her at first, but then I felt like, okay, now she's being really harsh. Like when they found out she was like called Lady of the Equus or whatever, and she was acting as like the Carmoko, then she was actually kind of being like really harsh with them. And I thought, like, oh, okay, now she's mean. And then she's like, oh, okay, now she's helping her. And then even at one point, Decca even says like, this is all just a game to her. And so like, I was just as frustrated though, just because I was like, tell us the answers, like, you know more, come on. So I was like, so I was starting to get like impatient with her, because I'm like, okay, and then at the end she apologizes and says like, oh, I'm so sorry that I didn't like tell you everything right away. And then, Decca's like, I forgive you. I know you had your reason behind it and I needed to grow stronger. But like, I just was like, I know you have these answers. Tell us. But then Decca didn't really push her that much, and I don't blame her because she was also kind of scared of her. She's like, what line? I don't want to cross the line with her because she definitely like had the mystery behind her. You're like, you don't know which way it's gonna go, and then in the end you're like, oh, okay, she is good. And she did all this stuff. She's the one who ended up ending the death mandate. And then the Emperor's mad at her, like, oh, you traitor. And it's like, oh, wow. Like, oh, it's so crazy.
Yes. That was confusing me for a while when they kept calling Decca a betrayer. And I'm like, what do you mean? I mean, she's trying to help. Of course, she was on the wrong side and didn't know she was on the wrong side. But I was like, why do you keep calling her betrayer?
Right.
The reveal with when we find out that the Alaki, when they die, their final deaths become Deathstrike. I was like, wow.
Yeah, that was a definite mic drop moment. Like I was like, what?
Yeah, some people can pick up on stuff, but it's like, I did not make that connection at all. It was a surprise to me too.
Yeah, and I can, really feel like the weight of what Decca had to grapple with from that, because now it's, oh my gosh, I've been killing my sisters.
Right.
And that one, the one girl who she was the Alaki before, who had wanted to go back to her lover.
Keita? Was it Keita?
Oh yeah, Katya. Yeah, Katya. Yeah. That was like hard because she was like commanding them at first, and so you wouldn't think like, oh yeah, she's like the, like you just thought she was special and had these special powers, and then having Katya come back full circle was really cool.
Right.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that either.
Yeah. And so
that was a shocker.
Then Decca is a Nuru, so that's her like title, as kind of like the special leader.
I forget, did they say why? Because White Hands knew the dead streaks were Aleki, right? Did they say why she let Decca kill the dead streaks? I can't remember.
It was all part of like White Hands. I guess it was kind of like necessary sacrifices, because it was all like White Hands' plan in getting like the girls to be stronger, but then the Emperor didn't realize that she was using them. Then she was going to use them to like to go against him. So I kind of saw it as like necessary sacrifice. I don't know if there's a better explanation for it, but
she kind of had to like build his trust, and like that, I guess that was like her way of like, you know, she kind of had to do it during that time, but yeah, I guess she had to wait until Decca was like ready to go to Worthubera or whatever, the training ground, and then like go through that whole process. But yeah, it's just really sad, because then at the end they're like, have you thought about how many you've killed and murdered? And it's just like,
why are you reminding me about it?
So, right. And so like I felt like she was my favorite character, because I mean, I, you know, sympathize with her. Like, she was very hard on herself, and I really liked the transition where in the beginning, like many times she says like, what am I? I am a monster. Am I a monster? And then like at the end she says, I am completely divine. I can be whatever I want to be. And I was just like, that like progression to like her feeling helpless to just being like the one who can save them all. They're like a daughter who can save us all. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is so, it was just like this wonderful transformation. And yeah, so I really liked her, and I also really liked Britta, because she, you know, just had this intense bond with her going through everything. And I think White Hands called her like her Warhammer, like she's supposed to protect Decca. So yeah, I like that.
Another James thing that with a drink. Hi, James.
Toast. I drank all my water, but
another thing that threw me was when White Hands was telling Decca that it was her seed, like she had created her, but that she used her mother as a vessel. So, and then I mean, I guess she got her mother to go and like be with the dad, but it was like she basically came from White Hands. So that was a shock for me, because at first I was thinking when Decca said, well, when she got to my dad, when she met my dad, she was already pregnant with me. So I'm thinking, wait a minute, did one of these Death Streakers do something to the mom? And then she goes and she's with the dad. I'm like, okay, I am so confused right now, because I thought maybe something happened with the mom while she was in the camp with her training. But then later on, you find out that it was actually White Hands, that it was her that created Decca and then just used her mom as the vessel, like a surrogate mother.
You know, what's interesting is like, and it's funny that we're talking about this book like the day before Easter, because like that whole scene with White Hands putting the seed in the mom and stuff, I was like, anyone think of Jesus?
Yes.
Basically, you're telling me Decca's Jesus.
That's kind of like what you're saying.
Basically.
Yeah, she had these powers and people didn't understand or didn't believe, and they slandered her.
And she's supposed to save them. And she would, you know, and immaculate birth, pregnancy, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I didn't make those parallels.
I didn't think of it like that, but you're right. You're right.
There's a lot of I feel like religious undertones in here.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
Most definitely.
I just think how long White Hands have been planning this to get, the goddesses, out of their trap or whatever he had put them in. I mean, look how long she probably planned all this to get Decca to the age and to the point where she could do the training to be able to help her save the goddesses.
Yeah, it was that like kind of blind trust in a way, because when she got her death, it was either have a chance to get rid of the death mandate and or keep dying over and over again, and so she had no choice, but then she had to, she kind of had no choice but to believe her and trust her.
That must have been why she made the years of service 20 years, because she knew, we're not really going to release you, because like by that point, like Decca should be, like, she was covering her bases. She's like, she has to be ready by 20 years.
20 years,
from the time she first started to recruit.
That's so true.
And I thought it was a little bit interesting, because like the Jatu were I almost felt bad for them, because they were kind of just like puppets in a way. Like they were, just blindly following like the Emperor's like bidding and everything like that. But then at the end, they're like, oh, they didn't know any better, that like they're kind of trying to defend them at the same time. But then they're like pitting them against each other and trying to get the Jatu to like attack them. And it's like the fact that like Keita defends her and tricks them to thinking that he gave her final death. Like that was super powerful. I felt a little bit like, just my personal opinion, that the romance was a little bit like forced. Like when he first starts saying, he had like a little speech where he's like, I'm fully devoted to you. Like, I'll give everything to you. I forget exactly what that was, but I sort of felt like, wait, I need like another scene before this where they kind of have a little bit more of like a bonding moment of friendship. So I felt like when she finds out about his past, I wanted that before they kind of started hinting that they had feelings for each other. But I was really glad that she had that, she had him there, and that he, ended up being good. So, but a lot of good stuff. But
I like that, like Keita pretended to know her final death to kind of try to like trick them at the end. I thought that was cool. I also like really going back to Ixa, this was another favorite part of mine, is like, at the end when like Decca and Ixa are like fighting together and Ixa's like changing, and like I just felt like those scenes would be so cool to watch as like a movie or something. And then another part that really stuck with me was around page 150, 151, when like all of the Alaki embrace their gold blood, and they like all say, "I'm a demon," while like slicing their palms and like wiping their hand across their chests. And then because it was when Decca was running faster than everyone else, and they're like, "Hey, like pull back and stuff. Like you can't go past the Jatu." And then after they all like kind of embraced like themselves, then they all just ran faster and they didn't like hold back. And I thought that was so cool.
I love that scene too. Like just powerful. Like they finally were like bonding, as the blood sisters. Like
yes. And that that kind of then goes to this was one of like the quotes or parts that I was like, oh, I can't talk about this yet because it's spoilery, but it was when Decca was like now fully embracing like the goddess side of her. And then she was like, or what was this? It was she was looking at herself in all of her armor before they were going to go out to battle, and she's like, my eyes peer back at me, a distracting gray in the brown of my face, the gray of my father's eyes as he beheaded me. And then she kind of goes on to talk about stuff, and she's like, I am completely divine, a creature neither death shriek nor human, with the ability to mimic both. I can be whatever I want to be, and I no longer want to be anything like that man. Oh, which I was like, oh, this was like a beautiful moment. I was like, yes, let's go. Yes.
Like a high five moment.
Yeah. That was a really powerful scene. I love that too.
So, anything else?
I was going to say there's so the scene I brought up earlier, but didn't want to go into because of spoilers. So, it's not even really a spoiler, but like, so on page 332 and 333, that conversation really got me when they're talking about never having kissed someone, and like Kata admitted to being a virgin as well, and them kind of like making fun and stuff, and you know, he's kind of like, well, I want my first time to be meaningful. I want it to be with someone I'm bonded with and all that. And so one thing that stuck out to me was, you know, the fact that it's like you're made fun of if you do, and you're made fun of if you don't. It's that whole society expectation, right? Like, I feel like it's kind of that commentary to where society expects you to, by a certain age or a certain time, to have had these experiences, and they make fun of you if you don't. But then even when they do, they call you names or whatever, all these stuff. So that was one thing that stuck out. And then the other part that I liked was on that page, the quote says, Kata is right, of course. Virginity, no virginity. The choice should be a personal one. I could have never even thought such a thing before growing up in Erfurt. But being in Wartu Brera has changed me. The infinite wisdoms no longer hold as much sway over me as they used to. When I read that, I kind of saw it again as, you know, like I was saying earlier, this book has a lot of religious undertones. And so it kind of made me think like, you know, the infinite wisdoms are like, you know, no, you must stay pure, you have to do this and that and be this way. And it reminds me of like the church, you know, what the church tells you about purity and how you should be and what you should be. But when she's like, virginity or no virginity, that choice should be a personal one. So it's like something you need to decide for yourself, not some religious organization or like the infinite wisdoms or whatever. It's got to be you based on what you're comfortable with. And so that's like the commentary I took from that, which I thought was just brilliant, how she kind of wove that into the story and into the conversation.
Yeah, it's not typical for a fantasy, so it was sort of like, and she kind of like wove it in there like naturally.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to like bring up those themes and those messages and everything like that, for sure.
And it shows why Kata is even more of a cinnamon roll, because he's like,
would be the guy you would take home to your parents.
Right.
So I had a question about when Decca says that she saved Britta. She said, did she heal her? Because I must have missed that.
I think she, like, I don't know how exactly, but it seemed like her power, because she can command them to do what she wants. And so she told Britta, you will not die. You have to hold on. So that was her commanding her.
Commanding her. Okay. Because I was like, did I miss something? Did she like do something? It's like, wait a minute.
I thought that was cool that like just her words like saved her, but it was because she can command and control them. So it wasn't like a physical like stay
like
still, you know? Yeah, it was like don't die.
Yeah.
So she's got some powers that are gonna come, you know. Now that she knows like a lot of what she can do, like the next book is gonna be crazy.
Yeah, I was just about to ask, is it a duology or a trilogy?
That's a good question. I didn't look up it to see.
Because she wraps it up but leaves it open at the same time.
They still have to go against
because they need to take back
Otera.
It's like it's time to reclaim the one kingdom and make it ours again. And then it's like, all right, how are they gonna do that?
Oh, good. 3 books.
Also, it is going to be a trilogy.
Wait, and we already know the next one, The Merciless Ones.
Ooh.
Oh.
Yes, trilogy. Oh my gosh, wait, is it coming out in 2021?
What?
October 1st. What?
That fast?
I approve of this. I am okay with this.
Didn't this one just come out?
It did.
It did.
Oh,
But maybe it got pushed back because of COVID. And so now and then maybe she had the second one already written. So then they were able to do a quick release of the sequel, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's kind of quick.
I'm on Goodreads right now, and someone's review says, the book, no title, no cover, no release date. Me, I need it now. Well, we have a title and a release date now, so. Oh, this is exciting, fun. So speaking of next,
I'm sorry, Holly.
No, you go ahead.
So the Death Shrieks, were there like different levels? Because some of them were leapers, and then some were just like attacking, but some were leapers. So I wonder if there were different levels.
I don't know. Maybe we'll find out more, like
in book 2.
Yeah, because it was like before, like she didn't even hear any of the death shrieks, and then at the end she was hearing Katya. So I feel like there's something more to it that we might not know yet.
Yeah, maybe there's different versions based on like how many times they I don't know. I actually don't know.
Yeah. I was just wondering that because I noticed some of them when they were going in, they were leaping to fight them, and then they had like the ones that were running toward them, but some of them were leaping. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, is there different levels, or is she going to introduce like a different type of death shriek in the next one?
Ooh,
which would be cool.
Interesting.
Yes. Which would be pretty cool if she did.
We don't know what White Hands has up her sleeve, so
I know. Yeah.
Cool. So this was a fast hour.
Yes, it was.
Was a lot of fun talking about the Gilded ones. I always enjoy the discussions because there's so many insights from you guys that I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. So tune in for our April discussion and join us to read Mexican Gothic, which Theresa already read, so that'll be interesting for
Yeah, I got it from the library, but I bought a copy. Mine will be here on Monday, so I can read it again. Because it was kind of weird reading it, but I'll be paying more attention once I read it this time because I'll be looking for different stuff. So
it's reading it. I'm like the writing's really strong, but it's not one that I can like fly through. I'm like really like inspecting like every word because I'm like if I like breeze through a line, like I'll miss something. So it's just more compact. So. But it's good so far.
I have the audiobook, so I will give you a report on how that version is. Hopefully I can retain everything.
Yeah, totally. That'll be fun. Yeah,
it's harder to like get the quotes and stuff like that, but
yeah, it'll be good to get some insights then. So people reading it, Theresa reading it again, you listening to it. So that'll be fun.
Also, if you want to see what quotes you can get, I always like going to Goodreads. They usually have quotes from each book there.
Smart.
Yeah.
Hey.
Good idea.
Good idea.
All right, you guys, thank you for joining me again for a fun discussion. Everyone's linked down below. Please follow these lovelies, and we will see you next month. All right.
Bye, everyone.